Hey everyone, how's it going? So what am I working on now? I'm working on a 2016 Ford Transit 350 series, and I'm doing front brakes, replacing front pads and rotors. Brakes on these are a little bit different than what you're probably used to. You got to take the hub assembly out in order to change the rotor. So let me show you what we got going on here now. So here is the brake rotor with the flange assembly and the hub assembly. The rotor actually bolts on from here, but it basically comes in from the backside and bolts to the hub. So we got to take the caliper bracket off, and then we have to take all of this, all of the mounting hardware out in order to get this hub assembly off. So let's start doing that. I'm going to walk you through the whole thing here. Let me just get you in place. So first thing we're going to do is we are going to compress the pads. I just simply stick a pry bar in here, nothing special. And I slowly go in there just to push the pistons back. That's all I'm doing, nothing special. Now in doing so too, you can see if your caliper pins are seized or anything like that, which these are a little sticky, but not bad. You see the whole thing does actually move. So now let's unbolt this. I got to see if I can get you in a position where I can actually work and you can see it. See what I'm doing, that is. So let's try you right there. So now we're going to unbolt the caliper itself. Now this caliper pin was just twisting with the bolt. It's not a big deal, but that's the reason I'm holding it like that. All right, so bolts are out. Now we're just going to hang the caliper up and out of the way. I have these, I already explained this to you in other videos what these are. You can buy something similar off of Amazon. Let's see. I usually like to leave the pads in place, so I will do that. Now, for some reason on this vehicle, they want you to replace the caliper bracket bolts, these bolts that hold the rotor to the hub, and then the hub bolts which you get inside there. So there's a kit that includes all of them. Dorman sells the kit. So now we're just going to take this bracket off. And what I usually do when the bracket's off, I just take the pins and I make sure everything moves freely. You know, this one is a little stuck, but it's actually stuck from like a vacuum. Yeah, and this one also has a rubber bushing in it. So, but I'm going to clean these up a little bit before I put this part of it back together. Just putting that down on the floor. All right, so now this is actually a lot simpler than it looks. Inside, if you look inside those holes there, you can see there's Torx head bolts in there. So what we're going to do is we're going to go and take those out right now. Let me shut this light off actually. I don't know if it helps at all. We can straighten the wheels out a little bit here. How's your view? Your view is still good. Oh, we got a compressor. Let me shut this down for a second. All right, so now that the compressor has stopped, I got my, what does this say, T50 socket, and it's going to go inside, and it's going to fit right into, if I can find the actual right spot. Hold on a second. Of course, I can't see anything. There it goes. Now you see what I did there? Going in blind. I stuck it in a hole. Obviously where it stops is hitting the bolt. So then I just pulled it out, moved it a little bit more, and then it went in. Okay. pretty simple. 5 bolts are out. I'm just going to take a magnet to get them out. There's 1, there's 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so now, with those 5 bolts out, this just comes right off. Okay, hold on. I'm going to put this down for a second. All right, let me show you what I got here. So now if you look, that is the actual wheel speed sensor right there. So you got to be careful so you don't damage it. So here is the hub bearing right here. I'm just feeling it out. It feels good. I already did the other side. The other side is done. So this feels good. Not too concerned about that. So what we do is we're going to find, what the heck did I do with my wire brush? It's right here. And it's, yeah. I'm going to clean this off a little bit. Sorry if I keep going off of it because I'm trying to do this one-handed at the moment. So now, you don't want to dig into this, but as you see those little ribs there? That's actually a buildup of rust because this is actually a magnetic tone wheel, it's called. It's got these little windows on there, and that's what tells the computer the speed of the wheel. As those little windows or those little ribs pass this, it gives a signal. So it's no big deal. That's fine the way it is. It did not have an ABS light on before or anything like that. Now, while we're here, just take your wire brush. Okay, just do that. Just clean it off. That's all. No big deal. You don't have to go crazy. Don't have to go bananas. All right, so now, how do we get that rotor off? Let me show you. It's pretty simple. Set you up on a tripod here. Now, how's this going to work? Let's see. All right, so now these 13s, these are 13s. Those 13s have to come out. So let's knock those out. Where did I put my gun? My gun is right here. Can't see what I'm doing right. Yep. Okay. All right. So now all of these bolts get discarded anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Oops. So now what you actually have to do is you actually have to hit the rotor off of the hub. And then the rotor comes, the hub comes out, just like that. The easy way to put this back together is you take the new rotor, just lay it on top of the old rotor, like that. Now, as you see, this has got these nubs on it, basically, that fit in between here. Oh, what you want to do? Sorry, I almost did it without showing you. Just wipe this off, make sure there's no debris on it. Wipe this off. Make sure there's no debris on it. I actually just did the wrong thing. This end, you're going to wipe off. Make sure there's no debris on it, because that's the mounting surface right there for the rotor. Now, since I did it over the rotor, just make sure you wipe that off. both rotors have to be in line because otherwise this thing gets hung up on the other rotor. So now here's a kit, and the kit is a Dorman kit. See that? And it basically contains all the bolts that you need to replace when doing this job. So it gives you everything you need. You got the 2 caliper mounting bolts, and you got the 5 rotor bolts, and you have the 5 hub to knuckle bolts. Put that down there. And what did I do with my magnet? My magnet. That's the thing too, when you're using a magnet, see how it just got a buildup of junk on it? So just gotta clean it off. What am I looking for with this? All right, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna put the 5 bolts in that hold the rotor to the hub, like such. And we are gonna start them all by hand. Now that they're all started, we're going to zip them down, but we're not going to tighten them. Okay, that's perfectly fine for now. So now we can take this whole assembly and put it back up on the vehicle. Now let me show you what I'm going to do here. Let me move this so you can see what I'm about to do. Sorry, brand new tripod. This is the good tripod too. This one I like. What we're gonna do is we're gonna lift up the rotor, and we're gonna get one of those bolts that's gonna go through to hold it in there. And what I will usually do is I will take the bolt, I will stick it through on this side so it protrudes like that. Let me make sure you can see what I'm sorry. Make sure you can see what I'm doing here. See that, so it protrudes? Then I look in from the side and I line up this bolt into one of those holes. Now this can go on in any one of 5 positions, so it doesn't really matter. Just be mindful that your sensor is there so you don't smash the sensor. Okay, now while you're holding it in place, and I already got that one bolt started, while you're holding it in place, go start another bolt. Oh, missed my mark. Hold on. That's the problem with not having a light over here. So I'll just go to this one. Make my life a little bit easier. Get it caught. And on to the next one. Just picking up bolts. Put them in their respective spots. And like I always say, make sure you catch all your bolts first before you start tightening anything. Because if you start to tighten without all the bolts being caught, you're going to create a nightmare for yourself. Now, all I'm going to do is lightly drag them down with the gun. You're going to do just like, you're going to tighten them in the manner like you would put a wheel on. You're going to go like every other, or, you know, crisscross. Now, you don't want to blast these things down with the gun because torque sockets have a tendency to shatter real easy. So these call for 46 foot-pounds. Okay, so that's in, that's good. I'm happy with that. So now, what we're gonna do is, let me shut this light off again. I don't need to keep this on. What we're gonna do is, now we can clean this off. Clean off any of the shipping oil that might be on it. So simple enough, you take a clean rag, and dilute the rag with brake clean. I was about to use another word. It's not exactly PC, so I decided not to. That's why I said dilute. Okay, so that's it. Just clean both sides off. This way the shipping oil is off. So now, actually, let's do this. We have the caliper bracket. What I will usually do is I will take it apart like this, make sure everything fits nicely. I will clean off any debris that might be on the end. This way you get the boots to sit in nice and neat like that, and this thing does move freely. This one, the boot came out, which that's a common thing. So how do you get the boot back in? It's actually pretty easy. You take the boot off the pin, and then the other side, the boot actually has to tuck in to here. It's really not that difficult, but right now it's getting difficult. There it goes. So that's it. It sits in place just like that. Now I try to wipe off the excess garbage that's on here. There's no reason to re-grease them or anything like that. I know a lot of people say, oh, you got to re-grease it. You don't have to. It has grease in it. Everything's moving freely, so there's really no reason to do it. And as you see, it's got sticky grease on it, so we're fine. So we put this in. Now, another thing I see people do is they jam these things in as hard and as fast as possible. See this? See how it pushes itself out? That's because the grease inside creates a seal, and you're basically compressing the air that's on the other side of the grease. So what you got to do is you got to play with it to get it to go in. Sometimes just go nice and slowly, and it'll get it to go in. Sometimes. This one's actually got a better seal to it. Yeah, see what actually happened? It blew, the air that compressed in there actually blew the seal out there. So let me get that back in place. And let's try that again. Sometimes it takes several tries, but usually if you go too fast, it'll blow the seal out. I don't know if you can see this on my foot here. That's what it took to get the thing to seat. All right, so now I've explained to you guys before about the caliper clips, you know, the using new clips. I like to use the old ones if I can. If I can, I'll use them. I prefer to because I've seen too many issues with the new clips creating noise. If I can't reuse them, then I'll use the new ones. All right. So we got a little dab of brake grease. A lot of times, like even these pads came with grease, a grease packet that you could put in there, used to lube up these slides, because you want to put some lube on here to help the pads move. Okay. So now with this, we're going to put the new bolts in. Now, yes, there is a torque spec for these, but we are going to ugga-dugga them in place. All right, so those are tight. So now, move this outward and we can put the pads in place. So now we already compressed the caliper before, so now the caliper should just go right on. Just like that. All right. So now I got to figure out what I did with my two bolts that go in there. Put them somewhere. Where did I put them? Where did I put them? I hate when I do this. Technical difficulties, please stand by. Oh, they're right here. Okay. They were hiding right in plain sight. All right, so the two bolts go in like that. So now, what we're going to do give these a quick whack like that. All right, now what I have to do is, I forgot, I gotta get my 15. Hang on one second. My 15 box wrench, because you always want to verify with an actual box wrench that these things are tight. And they are tight. Okay. So one last thing. I still have to tighten these bolts here. Well, how do I do that? How do I achieve the torque? Because they're supposed to be torqued to 22 foot-pounds and then 90 degrees. Well, let me show you that. Hold on one second. All right, so we have to torque these to 22 and then 90 degrees. 90 degrees, quarter turn. So we have to stop the rotor from turning. Take a screwdriver, shove it in there. So now I got a torque wrench here set to 22. Now these aren't as critical as, say, head bolts. They're critical, but just not as critical. Okay, so that's 22. So now we're going to go 90. Basically, I'm just going to eyeball it. So that's about 90. About 90. About 90. about 90. And about 90. See that? Pretty simple. Now, that really wasn't that bad now, was it? How long did that really take? It really didn't take that long. Now, if this was up in New York, I bet you'd wind up replacing that hub bearing. Because it probably wouldn't come out. You'd probably have to beat the daylights out of it to get it out. So, I just wanted to show you that. I thought that was pretty simple. It looks like a big nightmare of a job, but it's really not that bad. And the fitment too, maybe even New York, maybe they do come out. I don't know. Or Rust Belt area, maybe they still come out. Because it didn't seem like it was a super tight fit like some wheel bearings are. It was a good fit, but not like a, absolutely piece of paper thin gap in between there. It was a good fit though. But you know what I'm getting at. Anyway, so just wanted to show that to you. It's not as difficult as it looks. Basically, that's the whole point of this. All right, guys. Hopefully you got something out of that. If you did, hit that like button. If you could, please subscribe. All right, have a great day. Keep wrenching.